Welcome, I'm John Caldera, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. A little later in the program, a pollster is going to tell us what women want, well, at least politically. And this is why I can't get a date. And also, let's talk about something of great importance to me. My son, Chance, who is 10 years old, has Down syndrome and is the funnest man I've ever. He's John Belushi. He's the frat brother I've never had, but he keeps me busy. So this is a point of personal indulgence for me. I want to introduce Dee Daniels from the Sie Center for Down syndrome at Children's. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, the Sie Center is this remarkable place. I mean, there's only a few like it in the country that is specialized for kids like my son.
Correct.
What goes on there?
So it's a specialty clinic. It's not primary care. That is a clinical medical center for children with Down syndrome. So in that clinic, it's a multidisciplinary clinic. There's a developmental pediatrician, Dr. Fran Hickey. There is myself. I'm a nurse practitioner in the clinic and also see patients. We have a physical therapist who's worked with Down syndrome for over 30 years. We have a little gym in our clinic where they work on gross motor skills. We have a speech therapist who works on speech and different modalities of communication. We have a social worker who works on just getting families plugged into community supports, national supports, financial resources.
This is an incredible resource for families who have someone with Down syndrome. And it's here at one of the most spectacular children's hospitals in the world, at the Sie Center.
Yep.
It's really pretty amazing. For those who don't know, people know when they see someone, that guy has Downs, that kid has Downs, as they would say. What exactly is it? You know, if you were to explain it to people who aren't familiar, we all know people with Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. What is it?
So Down syndrome is a genetic disorder where there's an extra chromosome on chromosome 21. That's what, and there's some other variations of that, which is a little too complicated for this. But basically, they have an extra.
Too complicated for me. You're calling me stupid again,
no,
aren't you?
No,
That's
just
what I'm hearing.
for this amount of time. But that extra chromosome then causes some physical and medical issues for those people.
And mental delays as well. So
a wide range of developmental delay.
So it's kind of a double whammy in that there are physical problems,
Correct.
but there are also developmental problems.
Correct.
What has shocked me about this, I knew nothing about this 10 years ago, and now I know a lot, is the incredible spectrum of people with Down syndrome, particularly kids.
Yes.
That there are some who are not very functional, and there's some who are remarkably functional.
Correct.
And that spectrum keeps changing. It's the goal of your organization to help these kids become more functional. Would that be the right way to put it?
Our goal is to optimize the medical care so that they have a good quality of life, optimize their development. Again, our goal is to optimize the quality of life for people with Down syndrome, to support their families, but also to be able to have some research opportunities because we're seeing a large population of people with Down syndrome. So that allows us to look at trends, to look at things. So we do clinical research in our clinic where we actually look at treatments and outcomes and things like that. And then under the Linda Cernick Institute, which is the umbrella that we are under as well, there are basic scientists doing bench research looking at that genetic disorder and why do some of those children have heart disease and others don't? Why do some have thyroid disorder and others don't? And what affects that and what treatments?
Here's a remarkably unfair question.
Okay.
But if the Sie Center were so successful that it was no longer necessary, what would that end goal be? In other words, we can pack up shop and box everything up when?
So I think that we should say the Sie Center is named after the family who's helped us start our clinic, our donors.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about it's an incredible family.
It is.
Who've been in touch with Down syndrome as well. Tell us the story.
So Ann and Jonna J.C., SIE, they are the donor along with their daughter Michelle C. Witten, who helped us start our clinic. So they are the donor to our hospital that allows our clinic and the Linda Cernick Institute and the basic research to exist. The reason they're passionate about that is because John and Annecy have a granddaughter, Sophia, who has Down syndrome, who is Michelle's daughter. And so that is their vested interest in it. And back to your question, John C. would say it, in his words, is to eradicate the medical and ill effects of Down syndrome. And so that's what would put us out of business. That is our goal, to figure out Down syndrome as much as we can and negate some of the negative things that affect people with Down syndrome.
This is going to be a stupid question. Is there a cure? Let's try it. Is there a way to prevent Down syndrome in the future?
Not that we know of now.
Other than what so many people in government seem to think, which is, well, you just don't have those babies and you don't have to worry about it. But is there a way that a genetic therapy that could help?
So no, the answer to that right now is no, but that's a lot of what some of the basic research is looking towards. Just like in many other diseases, they're looking for that magic bullet and a genetic reason why certain diseases happen. So now, no, but the more we study it, hopefully we'll get closer.
And again, what's odd is that it is a double whammy. There are physical issues. My son has been through about 13 surgeries, from little things to open heart surgery when he was 3 weeks old. But he also has the mental disabilities that keep him from speaking well. And so you keep fighting both of these things. It's not one or the other. It's not just neurological.
Correct.
Right. This center does incredible work, and not only do the C's and Michelle do remarkable things, but society is kind of changing. I see things happening with my son I never thought would happen. And I'm talking more from a social point. He has friends. Those friends invite him to his house. Sometimes I don't even need to be there, which is a dangerous thing because he likes to drink a lot. You got to take the car keys. No, but he has friends that socialize with him, and he loves them, and they play with him, and it's the most natural thing. When I was a kid, that never, ever would have happened. You must have seen a lot of changes as well.
We do. 30 years ago or more, many children who were born with Down syndrome didn't live very long lives. And what we've learned medically is if you attend to some of the medical things early in life, like correction of heart defects and things like that, medically they can do very well. And if you get them speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, schools that are accommodating to their needs and can adapt to their learning styles, they really can flourish and do well and assimilate into society and be wonderful contributors to our society.
But there's also something from the other side. And it's not just that our kids are getting better, but typical kids are so much more accepting of children with disabilities all over. And that, when I was a kid, you just didn't hang out with with a kid like my son.
So
he would come in off of the small bus, and he'd go into a room in the school. You wouldn't see him, you wouldn't know his name, and you might see him walk out.
Right.
But now he is mainstreamed. I mean, he's there, and kids like him.
Right.
Even being my son, they still like him.
Right. So I think there's two reasons for that. One is we really push for children to have inclusion in schools. Sometimes they can't always be in the typical classroom all day because they need some extra help. But the more exposure they get to typical kids and the more the typical kids get exposed to them, there's that mutual empathy and friendship and respect for each other's differences. And that's wonderful. And the fact that there are more and more of children with Down syndrome in the schools now, people get exposed more and learn to appreciate them.
Yeah, and they're fun. My son's a hoot. All right, let's talk about the main thing. The money. Even though the C's have underwritten quite a bit of this is an expensive effort, and you want people to get on their bicycles. Now I'm trying to figure out the connection between Down syndrome and bicycles.
So the connection is Children's Hospital for 26 years now has sponsored a bike tour. It's a fundraiser in Copper Mountain where there are about 2,000 riders, 500 volunteers, and it's a fundraiser. And the way it works is people develop teams over certain subjects or about a certain child. In this case, we're developing a team for the children with Down syndrome from the Global Down Syndrome Foundation, the Anna and John J.C., our clinic, and it's called Dare to Ride. And we're encouraging families with Down syndrome or those who just know someone with Down syndrome or someone who wants to support Down syndrome and our clinic specifically, to register and ride in that race and raise money. And the money they raise will come directly back to our medical clinic at Children's Hospital for Down syndrome.
And this is part of the Courage Classic, which is
Classic.
which is a huge thing for Children's Hospital.
Yes.
And I know this because people at the Independence Institute, without my knowledge, started a team named after my late daughter Parker. It's Team Parker. And lo and behold, there are people in my office riding up and down mountains raising money for Children's Hospital.
Right.
And I would never do that because I could drive up the mountains. There's no reason to pedal up the mountains. But we raise money, and over the last few years, we've probably raised about $50,000, and I'm so grateful people give. Now, your team, which is not as cool as our team.
Oh, it's cooler.
But, yeah, we got better uniforms. It's very, very
Okay.
fun. All right, yours, Dare, I got to remember, Dare to Ride. Dare to Ride, if you work on that team, or give to that team, or ride for that team, that money goes not just to Children's Hospital in general, but directly to the Sie Center. Is that right?
Yes, to the Sie Center for Down syndrome, which is the clinic at Children's Hospital.
Have you ever ridden in this?
I've not ridden, but
Ha-ha!
I
He
volunteered
says.
every year. I volunteer every year in the aid station. I've registered people, and this year I'm considering riding. So I'll challenge you to ride.
No, you don't want to see me in spandex. Trust me. It just seems like there are all sorts of great fundraisers, and the Global Down Syndrome Foundation does a great event every year where it's a fashion show.
Be Beautiful, Be Yourself fashion
Right.
show. And the captain of our team, Connor Long, has modeled in that fashion show. So.
And what's great about the fashion show is kids with Downs are the models, along with all sorts of celebrities and sports stars and all the rest.
Correct.
So how many people have ridden in Dare to Ride before on your team?
Oh, this is just the first team. Our
time.
team has been formally organized. Last year, Connor, a few families rode, and Dr. Hickey, and now we've ramped it up, and we're going to have a big team this year.
People want to help out. Where do they go?
They can go to Children's Hospital website, click on Courage Classic, and then register there for the family ride. And there are several different links of the rides. There's a family ride that's, I think, about 25 miles, and another one that's 12 miles.
All right.
So.
If you're like me, you don't have to ride. You can just
Yes,
give some money, drink beer, and watch on the
right.
sidelines.
You can also go on that site and donate if you don't want to ride, or you can come volunteer or come cheer everybody
Dee,
on.
thanks for all you do for kids like mine.
You're
You
welcome.
stay tuned.